Welcome to Southern River Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, into wellness, and into fitness. Well, this week, the spotlight shines brightly on the Lacrosse Central Boys Basketball Program. Head coach Todd Fergot, along with Jacob Servais, two seniors, Jacob Servais and Noah Parcher. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Terry.
Coach, you've been on the show more than anybody else. You'll be ready to take over the host pretty quick. Well, as we tape the show here on January 15th, on the heels of a big win over Onalaska, pivotal game in the season, a game that we broadcast here, and a game that was a sellout crowd at Central High School. It was like a postseason kind of atmosphere. It was like unbelievable, and Onalaska was a formidable opponent. Well, a target on your back, obviously, as we'll elaborate on with the success you've had. What an incredible atmosphere. Describe that for those that weren't there.
Well, from my end as a coach, I mean, it's really exciting for these kids to have that opportunity to play in front of a crowd like that. As a former athlete, and Terry, I'm sure you remember those days also. That's one of the things that I remember probably most from my high school years, is playing in front of crowds like that. And I came from a small town in central Wisconsin, and our rival was, I'm from Edgar, our rival was Marathon. And so we had those kinds of games. Smaller gym, but the same thing, just standing room only. And so to have these guys be able to experience that, and really for the Onalaska kids too, I mean, what an awesome opportunity for them.
You know, years ago, we talked about this on ESPN recently, and I interviewed Gary Robarge, I interviewed Gary Johnston, former Central coach, former Central athlete, talking about the evolution of basketball in this area. A few decades ago, western Wisconsin was not a formidable place, was not a place in the landscape of Wisconsin to be tough basketball. It wasn't even mentioned. Now, in recent years, as I travel throughout the state, as I referee high school and college, everyone talks about the success, the skill set and so on of western Wisconsin basketball. Why is that, Coach?
Well, you know, I think we've always had really good players here, but I think when you have guys like Scott Christofferson, Bronson Koenig, Matt Thomas, those kind of players that I think kind of showed the rest of our guys the way that, hey, kids from this area can do well and can be the best players in the state and some of the best players in the nation. And I think that just opened the door. It certainly brought our kids a lot more exposure, but I think our players in our area realized, hey, great things can be accomplished, that just because we're from the La Crosse area doesn't mean that we can't be as good as anybody from anywhere, whether it's Milwaukee, Chicago, wherever.
There's another component that a lot of people miss in what you just said, though, and here's what it is. Second-tier players have really risen as a result of the exposure, as a result of the top-tier players. And we have two of them here. And one of them is Jacob Servais, who we talked about a lot during the football season, had an incredible football season. But now, as a basketball player, coming off the bench, you've accepted your role and you're part of a special culture. Describe your role, describe the culture of Central basketball.
It's just great. Like, as we're a family, so, we win as a family, lose as a family. Like, we're always together. So, like, if I'm coming off the bench, it doesn't matter because, like, it's all about the team. It's just everyone contributes, whether it's in practice or in the games.
But how unusual, and this is a lesson in itself. We could spend the whole show on this. What a lesson it is to have players that you value themselves, you value them as players. Whether they play, whether they're on the starting lineup or they're the 15th player on the roster, you value them. And Jacob is not all about himself. He's not all about getting himself in the starting lineup. He accepts his role. Is that unusual, Coach?
Well, I think kids, honestly, I've been coaching a long time now, and I think kids, generally are the same they were all the years ago, when I first started. Obviously, there's things, distractions sometimes with social media and the phones and the video games and that kind of stuff, and we talk to these guys about trying to limit that as much as we can. But kids are in a lot of ways very similar. I think sometimes it's the adults around them that sometimes can make it a little bit more difficult than it may need to be. And we're just so lucky to have not only great kids but great families that buy into what we teach and what we believe in, and our core values are just critical. And So and having these guys from little on, has really been fun for me to be able to be a part of their lives.
Well, we're going to explore those core values, but before we do that, we can't forget about this kid by the name of Noah Parcher right here next to me. I opened up the paper last Friday, for those that maybe didn't read the article on Noah Parcher, his evolution as a player. His beginning as a player, playing for his brother, who was a sort of a surrogate coach, Caleb, when he was working with you when you were very young, before Todd Fergot even probably knew who he was, and your introduction to basketball. So, first of all, that introduction was the memories from that period of time special for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I went to a very small school, Emmanuel, which my whole family went there. And so, we played 4th through 8th grade there. So, 4th grade, I was on the 8th grade team because, we didn't really have that much kids to choose from. So whoever went out was basically on the team. And, I've had my brother pushing me ever since I was in 2nd grade.
You know, I don't know, a lot of our viewers maybe know this, but I'm very familiar with the entire Parcher family, all the Whitcrafts and the Waits, and you can go on and on and on. Mm-hmm. And I think before we went on the air, I said how many cousins you have, and it was over 150, I think. So I'm very familiar with your family, but all of you started with a Christian component to your education. Mm-hmm. How has that Christian component helped develop you as a student athlete?
Well, I always thank God first above everything, and I always pray before the games for Him to give me the best game for us to win. So, I think religion has been one of the biggest things in my life, and I've thanked my parents plenty of times of raising me through Emmanuel Lutheran School, because God's been a really big part of.
So if you ask God to help you win, and you don't win, what do?
He has a plan all the time. So
He does. But you ask him to keep you safe, and you ask him to keep your opponents safe too, don't you?
Yeah.
Coach, you talked about a little bit about the culture, but before we get into that, one of the really cornerstones of basketball, high school basketball in this area, is La Crosse Central, no doubt about it. The times you went to state, you won the state in 2017 over Cedarburg. You were there in 2016. You were there in 2018 and got beat by Milwaukee, Washington. So, Central moving on to state is just an incredible record. And now you're 10-1. You had that big game we talked about on Alaska. You play again this week, Toma, but then you have another big game at the La Crosse Center coming up. How do you prepare and keep your players ready for each game? Is it a challenge?
What we try to do is we actually have it right on our board. The goal for this week is Toma, trying to get to 1-0 against Toma on Thursday night, and that's who we're focused on. Obviously, we know we have other games down the road, but we just try to live in the moment, value each day that we're together, value each practice, and we talk about that on a daily basis. And so our focus is just be the best we can be each day. And try to beat our next opponent and just try to get to 1-0. One of
the secrets to your success is the fact that you've kept some quality coaches next to you on the bench. Year in and year out, you have essentially the same staff. There's continuity. There's buy-in. Talk about the value of your coaches.
They're outstanding guys. With Jacob's dad, Tony Servais. Just a phenomenal coach. I could step away and the program would be just as good as it is now, if not even better. Mark Podeski, everybody knows Coach Podeski, just a great guy, just a great person. He's a second father figure or uncle or whatever you want to say to these guys. He's always taking care of them on and off the court. This year we added Coach Rod Pop to our staff. Rod is at practice every night with us and doesn't want to sit in the bench anymore. Just wants to be up in the stands and kind of as a consultant type of role with us. But the other guys we've had, Mike Brutus still comes and helps out. Rich Sims, a lot of former Central players, even our own former players have come back and helped out as volunteer coaches. And so, yeah, we've been very, very lucky. I absolutely could not do without those guys. Those guys just don't get enough credit. They're a key part of our success, without question.
Well, you mentioned too Tony Servais, who's a friend of mine and the head football coach, been on the show many times too. In fact, Jacob, you know him quite well. Being your father, but you talked about in your profile sheet about role models, and you identified your dad as one of the if not the biggest influence in your life. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think he's like affected my life more than anyone else. I spend a lot of time with him, just at school and like at practices. And I don't know, I just look up to the way he acts and treats people. I think he does a great job of setting an example for everyone else.
He really does, and you're a football, basketball player, all-conference football, junior and senior year. We followed that, talked about it during our broadcast, academic all-conference, Wisconsin Football Coach Association academic all-state. You've done just about everything, and you really believe and buy into student first, athlete second. Would that be correct?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you have to do well in the classroom to play, so that comes first. And I mean, that stuff's going to carry on forever if like your work ethic and doing stuff in the classroom, whereas, I mean, sports might not last as long.
And Noah Parcher, too, follows the same game plan, all conference last year and all Tribune and last year, and you've had a great deal of success. Are there things you still want to accomplish personally between now and the end of the season?
Well, I don't really care too much about my personal stuff. I just care about our team and winning the gold ball every year. So I don't really set many personal goals besides to be the best I can for the team.
What do you bring to the team? What's your biggest skill set?
I think on the court, I've at times been a pretty good leader on the court, you could say. I mean, I obviously I can improve, but I think certain games I've been a pretty good leader as a point guard.
I saw you miss a layup one time last year, and I was like, other than that, that's about the only bad thing I've ever seen you do. What would you say that he brings as a point guard, Coach?
Well, you know, I like that Noah talked about his leadership, and that's something that we need, you know, for that to continue to grow in our program. And he does it. You know, he leads by example, but he understands the game extremely well. So we are continually working on being a vocal leader, and whether it's going right for him or any of our guys, or whether it's not, just kind of stay in the course. But in terms of, you know, the playing wise, I mean, he's you know, his assist to turnover ratio is off the charts. I mean, I think he's got like over 50 assists. I think he's got 11 turnovers on the year.
Yeah,
it's phenomenal.
Yeah, I remarked about that on Friday night against Onalaska. Well, we're going to step aside just for a minute. When we come back, we're going to get to know our guests a little bit closer, up close and personal, right after this.
With our busy lives, it's a comfort to know that we can still remember loved ones in a traditional way with a monument. Lewiston Monuments in Lewiston, Minnesota has been helping families purchase a monument for over 4 generations. You'll find a large selection of beautiful granite, marble, and bronze monuments, all at competitive prices. And they're a full-service company, so they also do straightening, cleaning, and repair of monuments. Stop in or call for a no-obligation consultation, or visit lewistonmonument.com for more information.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven River Sports. Again, a great show today because of spotlight on Central Red Raider basketball, a staple of success in the state of Wisconsin, no question about it. Head coach Todd Fergot, Jacob Servais, and Noah Parcher. You've coached for 15 years now, Coach, head coach. Took over for a friend of mine, Ken Barrett. How have athletes changed over the years?
You know, one thing I think that's happened is there's a lot more expected of them. No matter what sport it is, it seems like it's become year-round. You know, whether it's basketball, football, volleyball, baseball for boys or girls, it's just year-round. And so I think that has changed a little bit. Used to be that you could just do it in season and move on to the next sport, and you just can't afford to do that anymore. So I think that's probably changed the most, and probably just their commitment not only on skill development, probably also in the weight room, I think has changed.
You know, Jake talked about one of his role models, and I know Noah, too, with a great family support and so on. You have a couple of role models that are important in your life.
Yeah.
Can you share those?
Oh yeah, I'd say my grandpa before he passed away was a really big part of my earlier life because I mean, he would always read the newspaper and he would always bring me up and talk to me about basketball. So him passing away was, I mean, obviously really hard. But I'd say my mom, she probably is the most because she travels with me in AAU. We travel around the whole U.S. from Vegas to Dallas to Atlanta, and she's always been there for me no matter what. So
good. And you play a little bit like a guy that I watch a lot on TV, and his first name is Steph. You see one of your role models?
Yeah, he's one of my biggest.
Steph Curry.
Player, yeah.
Why is that?
I think because not only on the basketball side, but he's also believes in God and he thanks God all the time, and he's done plenty of things with church and stuff off the court, so I've really paid attention to him. Also, he doesn't come from anything really big. I mean, his dad was in the NBA, but he was really overlooked as a player and underrated, and I think that's just like motivation for anyone.
You know, he's a very significant member of Fellowship of Christian Athletes, of which I'm a member of that too, and I've read a lot about him. He brings a distinct component of unselfishness and so on to the game. And do you bring that same component?
Yeah, I'm always pass first. I think coaches know that too. I'd rather make a good play off giving an assist than scoring a basket for sure.
Well, there was a lot of coaches that I know as collegiate coaches watching that game against Onalaska, and perhaps a few of them watching our broadcast, which was live too. And Noah, you mentioned in your bio that you'd like to take your talents to another level. Talk about that.
Well, I mean, my goal is to play at a 4-year college basketball, but my grades got to come first. And I mean, I think like this year I've been overlooked for a while. I think beginning of my high school career, and I think this year it's starting to come on, and a lot more colleges are talking to me now.
Jacob, you're a captain in basketball and in football. And the title captain doesn't just go to people that because they've had longevity on the team. It goes to people that can display an unusual level of leadership. Is that you?
I mean, I think so. I think at times I can be more vocal and speak out more, but I think I lead by example pretty well and do the right things. I try to do the right things at least all the time.
In college, career, what's that all about with you?
I'm planning on going to Madison for engineering. I don't know. I really like math, so I think engineering is good for me.
Play for the Badgers then? Or?
No.
You don't think that's in the cards?
No.
Of course, if you have a tough academic, rigorous schedule like that, you have to tell the coaches that you don't have time to play sports because you're too busy in the classroom.
Yeah.
Because you're going to be a success as a mechanical engineer, right?
Yeah, hopefully.
Defining moments in your career so far. You're a senior. You're a few months from graduation. Special times?
Yeah, it is. Some defining moments in my career were, winning the state championship. That was huge. And then like football, just like playoff games. Playoff games were it's both of them just great atmospheres and just fun to play in special moments.
What's something that maybe our viewers don't know about Jacob Servais?
I really like school. I enjoy math, and it's just fun for me, I guess.
You enjoy the culture. Well, you may be unusual because I talk to a lot of students, and I get really disappointed when many of them say they can't wait for school to be over for the day and for their life. That really concerns me. That's not you, though, is it?
No, I just like to learn. I think it's interesting and fun. So
you have an appetite for learning.
Yeah.
You know, Noah Parcher, I was looking at your profile, and something people don't know about you is pretty incredible.
Yeah, I mean, no one really knows and don't believe me when I tell them, but it is. I play the piano, and I'm pretty good at it. I took lessons from my grandma on my mom's side for a while.
Do you know one of the most famous people in the history of professional athletics plays the piano? You know who that is?
I don't.
Kobe Bryant.
I did not know that.
Kobe Bryant has a piano with his name right on the side, and he plays the piano to eliminate stress. and it produces joy and fulfillment and some pain, some sadness. But he is pretty darn good at playing the piano. So maybe you two guys should get together and play a duet. Well, Bailey Cale sang the national anthem before a game last couple years ago, and maybe you and Kobe Bryant can sing the song and get two dueling pianos at the music line. What do you think? Should we try to get him? Everybody, all other celebrities come to Central to watch games. Think we should try to do that? Describe an effective coach, somebody that you like playing for, Jacob.
I think I like coaches that have passion for what they're doing. I think that's like the biggest thing. Just like someone who like it matters to. Like it just helps make other people like want to be there and work hard for them.
Effective coach that you really think is important in your life? What kind of characteristics?
I mean, love for the game and very caring. I mean, I think Coach Fergot is one of the most passionate guys I know, and I know he loves every one of us, and he makes us really feel like a family, which is very important. And I think that's why, like, a lot of talent has grown from here because we have guys like him that care so much on our staff and care about us.
You know, there's a lot of quotes about coaching. Here's one of my favorites. See how it applies to you, Coach. The essence of coaching is to get players to wholeheartedly agree to be coached. Wholeheartedly. Not everybody does it. And then offer a sense of their own identity as a team and a teammate. The greatest quote I've ever read. How does that apply to you?
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of value in that statement, you know, and I think it's similar to what we do with these guys, is we try to each day get them just to be the best people they can be, first of all, you know, best students, and then the athletic part will take care of itself. And what's fun is when they start to figure it out, I can see these guys in particular and our seniors and some of our returning players starting to figure that out now. And then you kind of almost as a coach, you kind of step back and you let them lead the way. And, you know, great teams get to that point, and I think we're starting to move in that direction, hopefully.
One of the greatest articles I've ever read was about Jay Wright at Villanova, the Nova Way, and he talks about charts that people have. Offensive charts, defensive charts. Offensive charts including not just the scoring and not just the assists, but the extra pass and so on. The defensive chart, contesting block shots and so on. But the greatest chart that he has developed, that if I went back into coaching I would use, is called his attitude chart. His attitude chart basically talks about, like, what do players, and a student assistant is actually charting this. How do players react when there's a bad call? How do players react when they have a bad pass? How do players react when the coach takes them out of the game? How do the players react when they foul somebody hard, and sometimes you have to? Do they reach out and pick them up? All these kind of attitudinal things, how do they handle a loss? Graciously, with dignity? How do they handle a win? Body language character chart. You do that in your own little way, don't you, Coach?
Yeah, we don't chart like he does. Maybe that's something that we should do, but we talk about that all the time, guys, don't we?
Yeah.
And that it's every day, whether it's practice or game, that matters. And there will come moments down the road at some point in time where if we handle things the right way and we handle adversity the right way, we're going to end up in the right position.
As we tape the show here on January 15th, and as we close, when the show airs, you'll be on your way into the playoffs. You're looking to win your fifth straight MVC championship. You're looking to advance again to the Kohl Center. Talk about real quickly what you need to do to get there.
Well, we just need to get better every day. Each and every day we're together in practice and in games, and so we're not even looking that far ahead. I know we play Toma on Thursday, and then we have Minnehaha Academy on Saturday. But beyond that, I don't even know the order of the teams we play. We never really talk about that. We just talk about kind of every day just being the best we can be champions in each moment that we are together, and whatever the results are, we just kind of let the chips fall in the end where they may, and that's the way we kind of go about business.
Success above the scoreboard.
Oh, yeah.
Is what you're saying. But last thing, you may not know the schedule, but I do. And we're going to be broadcasting at least 4 more games prior to the postseason. And we are going to be at Onalaska High School on February 12th. Because you talk about a playoff atmosphere that particular evening when the rematch occurs between the Hilltoppers and the Red Raiders. That will be electric, to say the least. Like a rock star event is what it'll be. But we always enjoy having you on the show. We appreciate the efforts you make to your student athletes. We enjoy having Central Red Raider athletes, as we do the other athletes on our show too. So we want to thank you and wish you the best of luck. Coach Fergot, Jacob Servais, Noah Parcher. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks.
Thanks, Terry.
We'll be back with some closing thoughts and some clips on a recent game right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team.
Who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning. Your comfort is our business.
When you're faced with the decision of selecting a monument to honor someone dear to you, call Lewiston Monuments for a no-obligation consultation. Lewiston Monument is a full-service monument company, serving families in Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin for over 4 generations. You'll find beautiful granite, marble, and bronze memorials, all at competitive prices. Their experts can help you design the perfect and unique memorial. Lewiston Monument. Call today or on the web at lewistonmonument.com.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Well, Rick and I were on the road. We were at West Salem for the battle of 2 Cooley Conference teams in the first round of the WIAA postseason. The Panthers versus the Arcadia Raiders. Arcadia outplayed the Panthers throughout the first half, holding them to 18 points and going into halftime intermission ahead by 1. But the second half belonged to the home team as Steve Cashenschmidt's Panthers scored 44 points. They were led by our player of the game, Trenton Foreman, who had a game-high 25 points. All-conference guard Malachi Athnos also found success in the second half, scoring 13 of his 15 points. Arcadia was led by sophomore and another player of the game, Chandler Sensala, with 13. Junior Michael Schweitzel with 10. Arcadia ends the season 4-17, while West Salem advances to the Division III regional semifinals Friday in Mauston. We will be there to bring you that game. Final score again from West Salem, the Panthers 62 and Arcadia 47. I want to remind you, too, that the Greater Lacrosse Golf Show is March 1st and 2nd at the Matthey Center on the Viterbo campus, presented by the Viterbo University women's golf team. Lots of giveaways. You can buy used clubs, you can buy new clubs, and it's a chance to win some great prizes. So put that on your calendar on Friday, March 1st and Saturday, March 2nd. Well, that's it this week here on Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping you will have an exciting, active, and a healthy week ahead.